Alrighty, welcome. Been a little bit, but yeah, I wanted to kick off another stream today, working some more on the VoidMonster plugin that we've been working on in the last couple of streams. And today we are going to be working on, hopefully, tracking some creatures that fall into the void and adding some stuff like a whitelist, so only certain creatures even get tracked, and then maybe even some per mob caps so that, if you wanted sheep, for example, you don't get overrun by 50,000 sheep. Excuse me, had to mute myself there for just a moment. All right, so today we're going to kind of double check that everything is working as it should just before we get started. And then we will move on to tracking some creatures. Alrighty. So let's go to the testing server. I'll actually make this full screen. Okay. And first, actually, before I do that, let me go back to survival here. And I want to see if I can do something real quick here. Give me just a moment. There's a way to be able to broadcast that I am live in game. And it didn't seem like it worked, so I'll have to just trigger this manually. Give me just a sec here. Just gonna issue some commands in the console here real quick. Huh. Okay. Well, that is unfortunate. Hmm. Hmm. I want to look up a command to do broadcasting. Oh. Just do this manually since this has kind of been a pain. Sorry, bear with me here. We will get this figured out in just a moment. Huh. Kind of unfortunate that that didn't work. I was hoping to have it automated, but so be it. We will figure it out another way. Just kind of curious to see if broadcast is gonna do some weird stuff with the hex codes. There we go. My goodness, my brain is a little slow today. All right. Okay, it does seem like it wants it to be like this. Let's see if this works. They look a bit funky. Oh, almost. All right. We'll move on. Watch, I think I do. Okay. Moving on. Let me pull this back up. Hey, High Hopes. Why is this not working? Oh my goodness. These don't stream for a couple days and can't figure out how to how to get this all working. Oh, this is obnoxious. Hold on here. Yep, I have to get all set back up again. Oh gosh. I'm like, I've forgotten how to do this. One moment, please. I'm learning, folks. I'm learning. Eventually, this will be a well-oiled machine, maybe. Okay, here we go. Over here. You. You. Yeah, like my sounds aren't working right. Like, I'm supposed to be getting like the browser's not supported. Please use the recommended browser. What the heck? Am I not signed in? Okay. Oh, we're the company all the way. Somebody developed suddenly started. Troubleshooting is part of being a professional, even when you're doing fears you stuff to tinker. That's for sure. Like, why am I not getting the ding sounds when you chat? Like, I don't know, and I don't know why I can't decide to chat from inside Streamlabs. Like, nope, it just goes, yeah, nope, that's not. We're not going to do that today. Why? I don't know. I thought I had all the sounds dialed in and we just hit go, but guess not. All right. Anyway, I wanted to show off first, since you're here, Hopes, where we are so far, which I'm pretty pleased with. I actually spent the last week or so working on the plugin, not streaming, just because it was the fiddly stuff that was just obnoxious, and I was being nitpicky about. So this is a good kind of show off because this is what I was using to do my testing. Basically, I threw a bunch of different variety of items into the void, and then I was updating the debug list accordingly to get it to like exactly how I liked it, so that rather than having to look through giant console logs, I could just issue a command in game and get a pretty quick overview on whether or not I actually was properly tracking the items that got thrown into the void. So here you can see anything from like a creaking heart to an arrow to enchanted boots, all kinds of different variety. And the really cool thing is, if I were to hover over enchanted books, for example, I can see that this is a Depth Strider 3 book that was thrown into the void. Now, in the event of like an arrow, I actually did like a click to do a breakdown so that you don't end up having these huge long hovers. Because if you ended up trying to do a hover for 50 arrows, that's going to quickly be unreadable. Oh, by the way, no, I don't think there was any sort of software update. I think I just need to go back and dial in my settings. But for like arrows, for example, if you click on arrow, it tells me the velocity of every single arrow that got thrown into the void, so I can see that they're properly getting tracked, which is pretty cool. And then for like a netherite sword, since there's only one of them, I can see that this sword had fire aspect 2, looting 3, mending, sharpness, sweeping edge, and unbreaking. And then anything that is just like a normal item doesn't get a hover, but for example, like a potion, that does. So I can see that this particular potion that I threw in was a long poison, and this is just like a creative spawner, so it doesn't actually like have any creature attached to it. And then spectral arrows, I can again see all the velocities. If there was more than one page, for example, tipped arrows, not only do I see the velocity, but I can also see what they were tipped with. Night vision, long night vision. I can hit next to see that the next page shows me, again, more long night vision and leaping and more and more. So I had 30 different tipped arrows that I threw into the void. And then for Prime TNT, I can click that and get a breakdown of what fuses were remaining, because there is the potential that you have set the mode to be preserved for TNT, which means it will just spawn in the TNT with the same amount of ticks remaining on its fuse that it had when it entered the void. And so this lets us confirm that it properly tracked how many ticks of the fuse were remaining. And then last but not least, we can see that this trident not only has a stored velocity like an arrow, but also has stored enchantments. So yeah, tridents were a little bit tricky because factoring in all the different types of projectiles, along with normal items and enchanted items versus potions, all of that kind of just was more complicated than I originally thought. But at least we can properly see that our items are all properly getting tracked. So, with that being said, I would hope that we could actually recreate this. See, because this was stuff that I had done before. Actually, yeah, I threw all these stuff in, then played around with the debug list a whole ton, and I haven't thrown new stuff in. So I hope I didn't end up breaking the tracking as I was modifying the debug list. It shouldn't be, because they're kind of two independent systems, but you never know. So at least we test for it. So I'm just gonna queue up a kill command for the wither here real quick, so I don't have to actually fight it. And then we'll do a voidmon summon, and then a kill command, and we should see everything come flying out. And you can see here that we actually make all the items invulnerable until they are picked up. So even though we get the TNT, which is kind of fun, it's more just to scare the players. The items don't actually get destroyed. And if we pick up, for example, this sword, we can see that it was renamed to Arzor's Netherite Sword, has that sharpness, sweeping, fire aspect, looting, mending, and whatnot. Enchanted apple, TNT, normal TNT. So I can go around I'll do F3 and B to show all the hitboxes. Make my life a little bit easier. Game mode creative. A lot of items to pick up here. We would hope. Now I know there is one kind of weird oddity with tridents that I'm still working on. Okay. All right. So, good news is we had the TNT all spill out, and we have red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple wool. We'll set this off to the side. We have that creaking heart, regular spawner, trial spawner, potion of poison, still remained as the potion of poison. 2 stats of regular TNT. There's that fancy sword. Enchanted apples. It handles spawn aids and even handles enchanted books. So that's all the different types of things that I wanted to track so that it would never mess up any like unique items. And even if this was a renamed sword, it would just tag on like Arzor's whatever fancy name it had. But if you threw it in High Hopes, then it would be like High Hopes is, you know, Sword of Destiny or whatever you had named it. Okay, well, so this is a good sign. Now the real check is it repeatable? So right now, if we do, oops, was it too far? Goodness, land. Oh my gosh, I cannot land. There we go. If we do another debug list, we should see that it says no stored items because we just defeated the boss. So, yep, that's correct. And now, oh my goodness, if I can actually manage to stay on this little tiny platform. If I go and do, let's do white and gray and more gray and black and brown. And then let's do some chorus fruit and let's do a mace this time. And then a trident and some arrows. And we'll just do an arrow strength. Need a bow. Okay. And enchant. Is it density? I think is one of the. I have never played around with the mace yet. It's a density 4. Okay. Let's toss the density 4 mace. And let's do loyalty 3. Let's throw this into the void. Okay. We'll have to switch to survival to actually shoot the different types of arrows. Okay. Let's check the debug list. 11 items. That's a good sign. 1 regular arrow, some black wool, some brown wool, chorus fruit, gray wool, light gray wool, mace with density 4, spectral arrow. Tipped arrow shows us that it was a strong strength. Trident says that was a loyalty 3 trident, and white wool. Yeah. I don't know. I'm like, oh my goodness, I mean, it's cool. They're constantly adding new stuff to the game of Minecraft instead of just once a year. But my goodness, I could barely keep up with once a year updates. And now I'm like, oh, I haven't even seen the trident and whatever the new stuff is in 1.20.5. Like, I don't think I've even messed with wolf armor yet. Gosh. And I mean, I am pretty excited about the happy ghast. Like, I would have never seen that coming from Mojang, but I mean, it's kind of just like an even better scaffolding. That's how I'm looking at it. It's like, ooh, I can do some way fancier builds with this. This will be so much nicer than scaffolding or like, yeah. Okay, so this is a very good sign. So yes, we are properly tracking all items and projectiles. Now, the one thing is I haven't gotten it to where the projectiles are actually being like properly summoned by the boss. So you saw how the TNT got thrown out. That was the prime TNT. But we didn't see any like arrows or tridents whizzing out. So we're storing the velocities, which is great, but we're not reusing those velocities at least at this point, to then like shoot those items out, which is the main goal of that portion. But today I was like, I'm kind of tired of working on these projectiles. That's been like my life for the last week and a half, as I've been fighting with getting projectiles to be stored properly, because holy moly, they were way more complicated than I predicted. Just because you think like, oh, arrows, relatively simple, just store their velocity. But no, once you start adding in spectral arrows, and especially tipped arrows with the whole potion aspect, it got way more nuanced, especially the potions. Man, they gave me a run for my money, because tipped arrows did not play nicely with the code, and I had to try so many different ideas because a bunch of code is depreciated, and yeah, it was rough. All right, sounds good. High hopes. Enjoy your time with family or friends or visitors. Good to see you. All right, let's let's get on to today's stuff. So we have a void death, a void item, listener. I think we need to build, excuse me, a like a void creature storage. All right, we currently have a let's see, a listener. So we currently have several listener classes. We have boss death, item void, loot protection, player drop item. Oops. And void death. I'd like to make void death just player deaths and make a new listener for creature deaths. One thing to think about. Excuse me, would be entities. Falling anvil. Item frame. Armor stand, etc. I don't know where to put those yet. Okay. Tad's items for dash TNT following the void. Tad's boss suit is invincible of death. Tad's items with MBT on manual player drop. Currently Tad's all void deaths, player and creatures. Your plan is to split void death listener into two. That is correct. Player void death listener handles only players. Likely continues to be used for stat tracking or take-grief logging. Creature void death listener handles mob entities following the void. Can apply whitelist chats. Only store zombie skeletons. Endermen eventually respawn during boss fights. Entities like non-living entities, falling blocks, armor stands, item frames, boats of Minecraft, display entities, paintings, projectiles don't clearly belong to either player or creature. Options for handling them: an entity void listener, keep them grouped and free attributes for weird entity types, requires additional logic to filter out noise, temporary falling blocks and block updates. Defers for now only supports player and creatures. Log unknown entity types during void death. Recommendation: go with player and then a creature. Yeah, I like that. Okay. So let's make a new class and call this one creature void list. And there. Oh, let's actually rename that. Creature void death listener. And then we'll do an entity void listener. And then we'll do, it was currently void death. Let's go with player void death. Rename to player, player void death. All right, I'm sure that's going to cause some problems. Oh boy. All right, here we go. Oh, I didn't like that. Hold on. Can we just rename it? I'm sure that there's going to be issues. Player void death. Uses and imports. Player void death. And then strings. Player void death. And then comments. Just do player. And refactor. Cannot perform refactoring operations or changes in code after use has been found. Please perform search again. Would you like to rerun the search now? Rerun search. Okay, so I think that's okay. I don't know what he was complaining about. I mean, we'll just deal with them as we get issues. Okay. Okay. So let's check if we need to update what was void death listener now player death player void death listener to see if we need to strip out any mob death related code. Here is the current code. Here we go. Yeah, because we're currently, I think, listening for any living entity, and we're going to want to slim that down to just player entities. Yeah, there's a little bit of cleanup here, not a ton. Yeah. Listen for, we want to clean that up to say players. That makes sense. Listen for players. Ooh, die. Yeah. So, yep, our listeners, our imports, I believe, stay the same, which would make sense. except, oh, we actually don't need living entity anymore. That makes sense. Player void death listener. So, yep. And then we don't need you anymore. Actually, instead of living entity, it looks like we just change this like that. We still want this, but it looks like if... Okay, so this is just making it so that it's only players. So we're checking entities, but then we're filtering it out for just players. Okay, that made sense. Skip the world isn't tracked. Check Y threshold. I guess, yeah, we don't need this because before we were saying we were checking if it was a player, but now this is only players. So, yeah, that made sense. So, yeah, this now we're just saying we're respecting the config. That made sense. Slide that back. And then yeah. I'm happy with that comment, so I'm not going to change that. And this all looks good too. And then, yeah, we don't even need this anymore. Okay. I cleaned up that. So now, yeah, let's move on to this one. Let's take a look at what it created. Listeners, config manager, debug logger, world, living entity. Interesting that we're still importing player. Maybe to filter out player. Listens for non-player living entities that die below the void threshold, intended for use with whitelist-based resurrection features or tracking. Let's see. If the entity that died, living entity, yep. If entity is instance of player. Skip. Okay, yep. So we're importing player just so that we can skip it if it was a player. That made sense. Skip if the world's not being tracked. If it's white threshold. Skip if creature tracking is disabled. Okay. So let's update our config then, which is here. We already have this line in the console. Huh. Why? Oh, because we don't have one in config manager set up yet. Let's see here. Where would be the proper place to put this? A lot going on here. All right. Debug mode, general settings, get tracked world, is world enabled, set white threshold, blacklist, allow void, allow TNT, allow mob. Yeah, wait. So I have that. Is it just not on enable? I thought I needed to update config manager for that. But I found this. But it claims it is not being used. Did I change the spelling? Is hold on. Config allow mob void tracking. Allow mob void tracking. And then in the config manager, allow mob void tracking. So the question is void mob tracking enabled? No, that is not the right terminology. There we go. That made sense. Okay. All right. Oh, one sec here, folks. Okay, and we're back. Yeah, so that fixes that. Now, let's go and add a whitelist. Yes, okay. We have arrows and tridents. We should probably reorder some of this. Yeah. Make more sense for arrows to be above tridents. Or sorry, arrows and tridents to be above TNT because that's how we're currently listing them. And then mobs would be in between that. Yeah. Yep. Okay. All right. We need to follow this pattern and put a section 4. Void tracking between the two. Oh, hold on. Whoa. Here is the pattern. Oops. We already have this line earlier. Oops. This bit is not valid. You know what? Let me just do this. Let me just show you the full config. And that way you can see how to properly add a section for the mobs between projectiles and TNT. Let's try that. Let's see. I don't want to move the line under true. Keep it where it is. Let's see how I did here. Okay. Let's see here. I liked what it said earlier. Let's do this. Grab you. No, that's fine. We'll do stored equipment though. Let's do store health. And then let's do blacklist equipment. Oops. You. Yeah, something like that. Okay. Make it, let's see. Make it more like this. I want to list out all valid living entities that can be picked from. Okay. It's better. This is better. Let's add a link to the bucket entity living entity list and remove that this has anything to do with minions. Pretty good. Types exactly. If enabled. Yes. Do this. Track mobs to be resurrected during boss fight if enabled. Yes. Okay, let's do void mob whitelist. Skeleton and creeper. We also need to add a cap to the amount we will store per mob, or if we prefer a global limit total, or a let's see, or a limit that is defined one and used for all mobs. There we go. We should give the server owner the choice to pick between all three methods. Yeah, I like that. I think that works. Give more information on what each limit mode means in the comment. Yeah, that's better. Boy. Why does it hate this? Invalid child element in a plot sequence. I don't know why, but we will learn. Global, a single global cap applied to all tracked mobs combined. From a unified one shared list is applied for mob type Each mob type has an individual cap defined in per mob caps. Yes. Okay. I'm liking this so far. I think this is working. Okay. Let's not have that be a feature. Let's build that all in from day one. Store health. I think this needs to go on this level. Oops. Apparently not. Okay. Let's do it like this. Okay, here is the current version. Anything else we should add? Okay, so we don't need to add an enabled toggle here. That is already done in another of the config. I'm wondering if there is any other ideas that could make this section even more feature rich. Prevent the exact same knobs from being stored more than once. If all small stored multiple times. Since this is only living. Oh, you know what? What about if we want to track named mobs? And should it be only named mobs? This should still let other config options surrounding void mob work. Oh boy. Something's not right here. Okay, help me finalize this section. And it's and can you tell me why I am getting the error? Confidence with the Whitelist comes from a common indentation problem. Ah. So it's just indentation issues. I mean, I kind of figured as much. Ah, the types is probably what's messing it up. Zombie, skeleton, Enderman, creeper. And then this is one too many spaces in. Okay. Any other ideas for features we could add to this section? Huh. Let's see here. So beyond just their equipment, their whole inventory. Okay. How does this only track mobs that were recently damaged to a player before falling in, avoids mob grinder spam? Hmm. Hmm. Help me help me understand this one better. Only mobs are roost by the player will be tried when they die in the void. Never touched by the player or only took damage from the environment. Will not be stored. Voids junk data from mobs that were killed passively. Void traps, neutral mob farms, and void like Endermen in the end. Hmm. Okay. I guess I'm not seeing how this avoids mob spawner spam as don't most Mob spawners require player to damage the entity, so wouldn't all of them get stored? Okay, so let's see. Prevents tracking these cases are very common, especially blah blah blah. Most are designed to grant HP, which means they do require play to deal a clean blow. Their hits are finished off mobs, still allows these. These are intentional high for usually valuable. I have kill chambers. Most allows blah 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 blah. Players nearby, but doesn't touch the mob. But that's the most we check just by standing there. Okay, yeah, let's do it. Let's do require player damage. Here. And probably a spacing issue. Yep. I think I'm liking this. Is one level too shallow? Should be indented. I think it. Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, hello. Didn't mean to do that. You. Oh, what did I just do? Oh, that's deleted all of it. I was like, something doesn't look right. 1, 2, 2, 2, and 1, 2. There we go. A small alignment difference. Include inventory. Required player damage. Yep, fits that. Okay. I think I like all that. Okay. So we've got kind of the game plan of what we're going to do for the Creature Void Death Listener. Okay. Let's update Creature Void Death Listener with all of these new options. New config options. Here's the existing code. Okay. Line this up. There we go. Still, I think, having pretty much the same import, except now that we're going to do a filter. We're going to do entity type. That made sense. Entity death event. The damage by entity event. Okay, so that was the one that's requiring player damage, so that made sense by grabbing that. Okay, we'll update that comment. That made sense. Non-player living entities dive below the void threshold. Yes. First, we're understanding what entity died. Ignoring players. We check that the world is actually valid. So yeah, let's move that inside that little group. I think that's a simple way of putting it. Check if world is being tracked. Check if the entity died below the threshold. Adding a little debug there. I like that. Oh, hold on. We already had that. So first. Oh, literally this just gets put down there instead. Okay. I wasn't paying enough attention. Yep, that all looks fine. Okay. Then after that, we grab what type of entity it is. See if it's allowed in the whitelist. If name was required. Okay. Huh. I think there's some stuff missing still. I mean, yes, we need to update the config manager. I don't see any of this being considered. The updated code. Doesn't do any of the storage. That makes sense. Okay. Okay. Well, I think on that note, I'm actually going to end the stream a little bit early today. I've got quite a lot going on, so just wanted to get this started, but we will continue working on this in the next stream. So with that said, I hope to see you there.